Hello and welcome everybody to the VooPlayer Q&A weekly webinar call. We're glad you could join us today. Before we get started, if you could just please confirm that you can hear my voice as well as see my screen, which should say VooPlayer Q&A on it, and then we can get started. You can just type in, we can hear you and see you in the chat box. Thank you. All right, great. We're getting a lot of confirmation, so I assume everything is all right. So let's get started. Firstly, a brief introduction. My name is Peter. I am the product manager of VooPlayer, and we are holding these weekly Q&A calls in order to answer any questions from you guys as users, provide any training on advanced features, gather feedback, which helps us improve VooPlayer in upcoming releases, also to showcase some of the new stuff that we've been working on. So the format is pretty simple. I'll go through some housekeeping stuff, and then at any time that you have a question, just feel free to drop it in the chat box, or if you came prepared with some questions, now would be a good time to put them in the chat box, and then we'll start answering questions in the order that they come in. Before we do, I'm just gonna take a quick look at the Facebook group to see if there were any questions in advance. They weren't, so we can start taking questions from the webinar people at any time that they start coming in. Until such time, a couple of announcements that I want to make. So a couple of webinars ago, I started talking about let me see, where do I have it? A couple of webinars ago, I started talking about extended support hours. So we've started the new support shifts this week with the extended support hours. So for those of you on the Eastern seaboard, you'd be happy to know that our support hours are now 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, whereas for the folks on the West Coast, that's 12 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific. So, and for those of you in Europe, that's probably 9 a.m. to around 1 a.m. European time. So we've decided to extend our support times in order to provide better and more comprehensive coverage of the questions that are coming in, to be able to help you much more directly. So hopefully that's going to streamline the process of support a little bit better, and we're pleased that we were able to do so. All right, let's see. One more announcement. This is an upcoming thing, still not live in production, but we did a lot of testing throughout the last couple of weeks, and we will be rolling this out, I think by, if not the following week, in a couple of weeks at the latest. But we've finally integrated an affiliate program within VooPlayer. So that's, you're hearing it here first. There's going to be an affiliate program for all users who wish to qualify as an approved affiliate, and that way you're going to be able, you're going to be eligible to earn commissions on all of the VooPlayer sales on a recurring basis for any of the sales which come in through your unique referral links. So that's something that we've been working on, and it's going to roll out in, I believe, next week, but if not that, then definitely the following week. And we'll definitely make a big announcement with regards to that. So keep an eye out on that on the Facebook group, and I'll definitely talk about it on the next week's webinar as well, with regards to if we released it live and if you can start qualifying. Great. Some questions started rolling in. So let's see. Dave is saying, I need to wrap a series of videos in sponsor intro and outro video for each of several separate sponsors. Does VooPlayer offer this facility? Let me wrap my mind around that. I need to wrap a series of videos in a sponsor intro and outro video for each of several separate sponsors. Does VooPlayer offer this facility? So if they are separate videos and you do not necessarily want to edit them together, I would assume that you would want to use our playlist features. So The tricky part with that is that pending what you mean by wrap, if you mean them like a pre-roll video and a post-roll video, one way to set that up would be, so let's create a new playlist real quick. So sponsor videos, we should call it, and in it. So here can be a series of the videos which I want to add. So this can be the sponsor's first video. This can be the sponsor's second video. This can be the third video, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you would be able to build a playlist. However, if you wanted to wrap them in intro and an outro, so pending if those videos need to be unique for each sponsor, so I guess you would be able to build a playlist for each sponsor. And then what you could do is then you can edit the first video and the last video. So I would come into this homepage video. So let me just come over here into the, where did I want, what was that, homepage video? Yeah. So I would select the homepage video, and I would just put a pre-roll onto that one because it's the first one in the playlist. And I would come down here to the marketing tools, interactions, and I would come to pre and post-roll videos. And then I would just add a pre-roll video or upload it or record it directly from here. And I would not allow skipping, I guess, in that scenario. So that way you can have an intro in the first video, which would be the first one of a set in the playlist. And then you can do the same with the last video in the playlist, where you can add a post-roll video to the last video. So I'm not sure if that necessarily covers your scenario, Dave. I'm confused whether the videos which need to be wrapped in an intro and an outro would be unique to each sponsor, or they would be different for each sponsor. So this is kind of covering the scenario in which all of the videos need to be unique. So you would add video A, video B, video C, and you would add pre-rolls to the last and the to the first and post-roll to the last video. However, if you then had another sponsor with the video X, Y, and Z, you would add another pre-roll to the video X and post-roll to the Z video. So hopefully that kind of covers that scenario. However, if you just need the same videos in a playlist and you need a unique intro and outro for each sponsor, so A, B, and C remain the constant. However, you want to change the intro and the outro video, then you can just reutilize this playlist. So I can come over here to the this playlist, and I can just come over here to the publish options. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I can make a quick clone of it from here. And then you can just add, so this is the clone of that playlist. And then you can just change the first and the last video in the playlist. If that kind of makes sense. So you can add different pre-roll video, which would be the intro, and then you can add the different videos. I did not save this last time. This is what I'm doing it again. So you can add an intro and an outro, but remain kind of the center video. So I guess if you had 20 videos, then you can just change the first one and the last one always from that playlist. And of course, you can control the playlist a little bit better by saying, I don't want to allow people skipping the videos, and that way you need them to, you would force them to watch the series. So Dave is saying almost I need a playlist of say 8 videos looking as follows: sponsor intro, video 1, sponsor 1, outro. I get it. So basically you would just build a playlist where, and then you can just clone it several times, and then for each sponsor just shift out the first and the last video. And that way you would be able to keep those, yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. I think that's covering the scenario. So you would build one playlist, which is kind of generic and which you would not touch, and then you would just clone it for each sponsor, and then just change the first video and the last video. So, and you can always do that directly from the playlist management, deciding which the order of the videos is. So let's say this, let me just see if I understand. Since we don't have any questions, I'm gonna kind of dive a little bit deeper into this. So I'm just gonna rename this video as sponsor 1 intro. So we'll just save it as that. And I'll come over here, and I'll also have another video, which this will be sponsor 2 intro. I'm not gonna do the outros. Sponsor 2 intro. So let me just save it as that as well. All right, so I'll come over here to the playlist now. And let's create a new playlist. So this is going to be my sponsor template playlist. And I'll add this video and this video and this video. So let's say those are the 8 videos which I want. So what I would do is I would just come over here and say, all right, now I want the sponsor 1 intro in here, and I would add it, and I would just put it as the first one, and then I will save this. So now I have this sponsor template, and I can rename it something like sponsor 1, for example, and I'll save that. So when I come back over here to my playlist dashboard management, then I have the sponsor 1. So as I did previously, which currently has the 3 videos in the pre-roll, so I'll just come over here and I'll clone the sponsor 1. So here's the sponsor 1 clone, and I'll come over here to edit it. So now this is going to be my sponsor 2 playlist, and I'll just come in here and add the sponsor 2 intro, add it, put it as the first one, and just remove the sponsor 1 and save it, and there it is. So, and you'll do the same for the outros, of course. Hopefully that kind of manages that scenario. It's a little bit of a walking process, but I don't think it's too terrible of an execution to cover that scenario. But again, depending on what you want to achieve with that intro and the outro. For example, the benefit of, so this would act as a regular video. You would have controls over it. You could pause it. You can, unless you come into the editing and disable the controls for it. Whereas the pre-roll and the post-roll video feature, which is on individual videos, has a bit of a better control for intros and outros, where all of the controls are disabled. You can control if the user if the viewer, could skip it or not, and you can add some actions to it, and so on and so on. So if this covers your scenario, great. If not, Dave, just reach out to us at support@vuplayer.com, kind of detailing out what the desired outcome is specifically, so that we can perhaps recommend a somewhat better approach to covering your use case. But that's a great question. It prompted some thinking over here. So let me just make a note of that. So management of playlist. All right. All right. Let's see if there are any other questions. None thus far. Okay. I did not have much else which I wanted to cover this week. So we just mentioned the extended support hours and the upcoming affiliate program. Worth mentioning is that we released a new version of VuPlayer earlier today, which did not include any major new features, just a bunch of bug fixes and performance enhancements, so not much interesting there. Dave is also saying, looks like it will work. I will try it out. If it works, I might need to set up a large account. Hopefully you do. And again, if you run into any difficulties or have any suggestions on how something might work better to cover your use case, we're always open to hearing that out and facilitating the execution of that as seamless as possible. All right. Brad is saying, hi, any more thoughts about putting chat inside a player? Again, I think I remember this question from maybe 3 or 4 webinars ago. So the questions here are not necessarily only about chat. So I would not limit this discussion to specifically chats, but basically adding any interactive capabilities which you are able to add on any website. So I think a good way to think of VuPlayer is maybe not a good way, but at least in this instance, it's good to think of VuPlayer as a website which lives over your video. So back in the background somewhere on the bottom layer, we have the video which is playing. And above it, you have a completely customizable website which has some controls which can interact with that video. So there's a top layer, which is VuPlayer, and it's controlling the video below it. So basically, anything that you can do on your own website, you can do inside of VuPlayer controls. So Brad was a couple of webinars talking about, well, I wish I had an ability to integrate chat inside of the video itself, like live chat capability, like Intercom or User Engage or Snap Engage. I don't know, all different types of chat softwares which are available out there. So my suggestion was to him, so you would be able to come over here to the interactions and CTAs, overlays and annotations, and then you can create an overlay, which again is basically acting as any website element, and then you have complete control over the code which you can customize. So if you want to embed a live chat, or if you want to embed Google Ads, or if you want to embed another video. So a few webinars ago, we embedded a video within the video as an overlay, and so on and so on and so on. So basically, the ability to manipulate the source of this element directly gives you any sort of complete control over the elements which you customize inside of WooPlayer. However, with Brad's example, that embed code for that live chat did not work on any other website, so it also didn't work in WooPlayer. But any scripts, any iframes, any HTML code that you have anywhere, you're able to enter it inside of. So if I wanted to do something, I think we did this a couple of webinars ago, but if I wanted to, let's say, just grab something off of YouTube. So I don't know, I'll take this webinar video which we had, and I can come over here to I want to share this, and I want to embed it on my website. So I'll just take this embed code from YouTube, and I'll come over here to the content of this overlay and just save that. And now I have a video as an overlay. And of course, you can then customize the styles of this even further by controlling how it displays inside of WooPlayer. So basically, any controls which you have available on a website, you can also make them work on top of WooPlayer by manipulating the source code of the elements directly. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. The end result there was that embed code which Brad was trying to embed inside of WooPlayer was not embeddable, not only inside of WooPlayer, but not from any other website, and that was an issue, I believe, with that live chat provider not allowing any cross-domain linking. So let's see. Kevin is saying, you explain how WooPlayer works, and that is something I have often wondered about. Thanks. Yeah, definitely. The technology is pretty simple, so it's just basically a set of layering that happens on top of each other. However, the intricacy of it is making it work nicely together, and communication between those layers, making it really good. So one of the questions that we get asked really often is, and it's maybe our fault because we haven't communicated that well enough and to our users with regards to how WooPlayer works. But let me just save this overlay, which I was just making a second ago. So I'll save it from second 1 to second 5. I think that's fine. So now I have this video and I have this overlay, which is here. So that's all great. And then we got to ask the question. So I've created this and it looks great, but what I want to do now is I want to export it from WooPlayer, and I want to import it into YouTube or Vimeo or some other. So I want to kind of edit things and add interactivity and change colors, et cetera, within WooPlayer, and then I want to download it and then export it and import it into YouTube and import that video into YouTube. So the reason why that won't work is that we're not changing the actual video which is in the background. So that just stays in the background, and we're not manipulating it in any way. We're not altering the video file itself. We're just kind of putting things on top of it, and those things which are added on top of the video are able only to be interpreted within the WooPlayer, the video player itself. When you export the video outside of WooPlayer, what you're getting back is that raw source file which you provided without the WooPlayer layers on top of it. Brad is saying, I tried with our current chat program, but it didn't work. I think because the chat script would not allow an iframe in a different URL. That's what I was trying to explain. So if sometimes to not get too technical on this, but sometimes a service provider can explicitly say, hey, you are able to use this on this domain and this domain only. So if you register as VooPlayer.com, for example, on their service, you would be able only to read that chat from VooPlayer.com. And sometimes those services have, hey, if you want to, you can add additional domains with which this can work. And that's really up to the service provider to specify how that can work. So basically, if you owned a website called VooPlayer.com, for example, Brad, and you wanted to embed that live chat on it, then you wouldn't be able to do that. So why won't a live chat work on your website is the same question you're asking with regards to why won't a live chat work within the video player. Hopefully that kind of helps alleviate that concern. William is saying about the tag internal suggestions discussed, would a search box inside the video room support such feature? Any thoughts? That just kind of took me on a journey, that question. About the tag internal suggestions discussed, would a search box inside the video room support such feature? Any thoughts? What's a video room? Can you elaborate on that a little bit, William? Are you talking maybe about I'm not going to save those changes. Are you talking maybe about the video dashboard? I'm completely confused with regards to what's the video room inside the video room. With a search box, yeah, I'm not able to interpret that question. If you care to elaborate it a little bit, then maybe I can discuss it. Marvin is saying awesome, great, Brad. Yes, excellent. Let's see, Kevin, yeah, excellent. Let's see if there are any other questions. None thus far. So let's just, if there are no other questions, we can start wrapping this up slowly. We'll give, I think Dave just deleted his question, or who was that? William, you changed the name of the watch room. Yes. Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, so not the watch room. That was the watch page. All right. I got you now. I connected there. So previously, the public page, which allowed your videos to be watched, was called the watch page, not the watch room. And we changed that from the watch page to the video page. So this page, which you can customize and then add content to it and a headline and enable Facebook comments and disable that page if you want to keep it private, of course. You can customize it. So here I'll publish this, and then I'll go into my watch room. So here is my watch room for this video, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but it might. Yes, it will. So if I was on this video, and then let's see, the question was if I'm trying to find that question, William, and I think something happened to it. But if you had tags on it, would you be able to search by those tags? So I think I'm starting to get a good grip on what the question was. The only kind of issue we're having with that is that thus far we were not promoting it was just not available to interact with any different video from the watch page or from the video page. So the watch page was always unique to one single video. So if I'll take this video for example. So this is my watch room or the video page, and from there you only have access to this one video. And we had several suggestions of, hey, I want to have additional videos listed here, like my different videos from my library. I want them to be listed below this video, or a site, and I want people to be able to search my other videos and so on and so on when they come to this page. And thus far, kind of the direction which we're taking is that we're kind of making this the unique video experience, and we're focusing people on only watching this video. So kind of the primary use of WooPlayer is embedding it on your own website. However, if you don't have your own website, you just want to show your video to other people quickly and take leverage of the marketing features which are which come with WooPlayer, you're kind of able to leverage this link and send it out. And that's why this link has always been kind of unique to one video. We haven't gone around to and we don't necessarily want to create a tube website like YouTube or other tube websites where you can browse through different videos. So this page is kind of, at least until now, until we gather some more feedback with regards to sort of the library management of your videos and the exploration from the viewer standpoint, this page kind of stays dedicated to only that single video for which that link was provided. Hopefully I understood that question correctly. So any kind of additional tag management and so on from this page thus far is not envisioned to be in our direction. Hugh, so if I design all of my overlays and use my properly listed licensed software, will it show up on my website? So if I design all of my overlays and use my properly licensed software, will it show up on my websites? Yeah, of course. The overlays themselves will always show. So the WooPlayer overlays have absolutely no limitations with regards to any software. So if you integrate in those overlays, you integrate something like I integrated YouTube, or you integrate, for example, Google Ads, or you integrate. We had a bunch of requests like those Scribd document viewers, or some e-commerce platform widgets, and so on and so on. So if you integrate all of those within your WooPlayer overlays, they will always work. The only question is if that provider allows you to have the WooPlayer domain. So the tricky part is, so if you have domain which is called hugheswebsite.com listed as something that's supported by that party provider, you have two options. One is you also need to list WooPlayer.com as a supported domain in those softwares as well. Or an alternative option which you have is you would have to provide your own custom domain to be utilized with WooPlayer. So you're always able to mask WooPlayer completely by not using WooPlayer.com at all as your domain. As for example, so here I have this domain, filmovisor.com, which was once a movie site of mine, but then I redirected it to WooPlayer.com. So basically, this is now acting as the WooPlayer site, and this is basically my domain, which I can use. And you can also redirect subdomains. I think I set up test.this to also act as WooPlayer. Yeah, so you can set video.hugheswebsite.com to act as WooPlayer, and that way you will only need to support only one domain. So that might also be a suggestion for Brad. If that chat is only supported on bradsite.com, you can redirect a subdomain of that website, such as video.bradswebsite.com to WooPlayer, actually to app.WooPlayer, and then and you can read more about that over here in when you're setting up my custom domain. You can just click on custom domain documentation. That will go through a little bit more detail with regards to that process and how that's executed and what you need to forward where and how the SSL works and so on and so on and so on. So that's going to give you a little bit more insight into that. But basically, with regards to anything that you want to, if you embed something within an overlay that depends on domain validation, then make sure that by default, at least, VooPlayer is also listed as a supported domain. And if you do not have the capability to do so, some softwares license their access to domain level. Then what you can do is then you can forward a subdomain of your website, like, for example, video.hugheswebsite.com to app.vooplayer.com, and that way you will be able to leverage hugheswebsite.com and not need to add VooPlayer as another domain. William, thanks. Hopefully I answered your question, William, and hopefully I answered your question. Hugh, Brad, we had a lot of great questions today. Dave, hey Shade, I didn't see you. Hello to Shade as well. A lot of regulars here asking a lot of good questions, and I want to thank you for this. Hugh asked one last question, so we'll wrap up with this. Do you have an SRT transcript feature, and will the transcript embed in the schema of the page for SEO purposes? We do not have a transcript feature right now. It is definitely something that's in our queue, but has not received a lot of feedback thus far, which was why it wasn't necessarily prioritized yet. So Hugh, that's one of those upcoming things, and I can't give you a precise estimate on when that is going to be supported with regards to the ability to kind of transcript live from VooPlayer. You could, however, upload subtitles to VooPlayer, and I think the answer to your question with regards to if they get added to the SEO, I believe the answer is yes to that. However, for VooPlayer metadata and everything else to be considered by the SEO engines, one thing that you need to do, and this is disabled by default because some people sometimes don't necessarily want to do that, is here when you are editing your video and you come to advanced options and you come to social and SEO metadata, you do need to check this box which says SEO optimization. So that will then allow us to drop a JSON file on your website, which will kind of deliver that metadata to the search engine scanners. Hopefully that answers that question as well. No transcript service within VooPlayer. You are able to upload subtitles and what was the other one? For enabling all of that in SEO and for enabling a whole bunch of other SEO meta tags, you come to advanced options on the video and social and SEO metadata and turn that on. All right, that solves another issue for me too. I'll be in touch. All right, great, Dave. Again, thank you everybody for joining. We ran a little bit over time today, but no worries. A lot of good questions, and as I mentioned, thank you everybody for participating. And thank you for helping us continue to improve VooPlayer with your feedback. If there was anything left unanswered, feel free to just drop a comment. We'll post a replay of the webinar both on our YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook group. So hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll continue improving VooPlayer. All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.